the crucial bilateral meet that's taking place between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping. Now, the Ministry of External Affairs has come out to issue a statement on the Modi-Xi bilateral that's taken place only a few hours ago. The MEA has stated, and I quote, "Leaders agreed to resolve border issues." This is one of the key points that's come in as we speak. They've also said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has underlined the importance of peace and tranquility on the border areas for continued development of bilateral relations. The two leaders have noted the satisfaction of the successful disengagement last year and the maintenance of peace and tranquility along the border area since then. There are several other key points that have been made in this very statement, which we will take a deep dive into as my colleague Geeta Mohan joins us on the broadcast to decode it further. Geeta, before I get into the very aspect of border issue, which we've been discussing at length since morning, ever since the meeting was to take place, there is one point that I want to bring both our viewers' attention to as well as yours at this point, is the fact that Prime Minister has noted that India and China both pursue a strategic autonomy and their relations should not be seen through a third country lens. Moreover, the two leaders have deemed it necessary to expand common ground on bilateral, regional and global issues and challenges like terrorism and fair trade in multilateral platforms. This is a very key point, given that it not only speaks of autonomy of both countries, ensuring autonomy of both India and China, but it also circles around terrorism, which was a key subject matter when we speak of China.
Well, absolutely. The Indian side very clear. Sources have told India today that Prime Minister Modi, during his conversations with President Xi Jinping, raised the issue of terrorism very emphatically. Now, that's very important. Yes, both sides have been focusing on the issue of mutual trust, mutual respect. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, the two sides have to work beyond just talk, beyond just rhetoric, and we are yet to see the Chinese side really walk the talk on whatever they've said. For now, the border remains calm, but nobody's forgotten Galwan. So at this point in time, while the statements have come in and we're looking at some forward movement, no spectacular, the two sides want to work towards a space where they find common ground and are actually moving towards a working relationship. They have resolved to address the boundary question. They are looking at people-to-people connect, where they're looking at visa facilitation yet again, reiteration of the pilgrimage having begun, that is Kailash Mansarovar Yatra. Bilateral investment is something that they want to see as expand rather than be curtailed, which is what happened post Galwan. Both sides are looking at how to ensure fair trade, but also more importantly, the issue of terrorism is again a very important aspect when it comes to the two sides, and that's what is the focus of the talks this time around as well, where Prime Minister Modi was rather emphatic. Then the two sides also discussed the issue of support for forums such as BRICS and SCO, where we see a huge participation of Russia, India and China, as at a time when we are looking at massive tariff wars and a huge disruption globally. This becomes this is a rather important where countries come together to find ways, not just as an alternative, but also as a space where unilateral decisions of a particular country cannot further disrupt or create chaos in a working global order. The two sides have been engaged and are looking at further engagement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi not only had a bilateral meeting with President Xi Jinping, he also met with the Premier of China, that is Mr. Kai Chi, and again reiterating the desire to expand exchanges and improve relations. So these are areas of importance where both the countries are looking at stability in a multipolar world. The reiteration that you see from this meeting is not just of the two countries that have problems and are looking at forward movement, but also India emphasizing the need for strategic autonomy. The fact that India should be allowed to be able to engage countries that they see advantage for India itself, whether it's China or for that matter the crucial meeting that will take place tomorrow, that's India Russia. So important development, important reiteration, I would say, but a reset is far from what we are looking at over here. A reset will only come about, and it would be business as usual should there be absolute de-escalation at the border regarding the recent crisis during Galwan and post-Galwan.
So, a couple of points here. Whether the disengagement at this given point ends up becoming a full-blown de-escalation is something that we are waiting to watch at this point. But Geeta, very important points that you've mentioned here. When we speak of strategic autonomy and the reiteration by India of strategic autonomy, these two words come out to be very important, so that when we speak of a multipolar world, it shouldn't come out to a circumstance where China ends up replacing a certain country, or rather a powerful nation in the West, and doesn't take up that role in the East. Would you say that is what it translates to when we speak of the geopolitical landscape?
Well, this is an important relationship. When we're looking at the geopolitical landscape itself, at this point in time, the relationship with China is a crucial one. Whether it's trade, the fact that China is still the largest trading partner of India, and is the largest trading partner of the United States of America as well. In fact, it's one of the largest trading partners of most countries, including all of Europe. And that cannot be ignored when one is looking at the larger issue of how countries need to come together. After the Galwan crisis, or even after all the issues that countries in the West have had with China post-COVID, there was a need to look at supply chains, alternative supply chains. India, Vietnam were being considered. But we are still some time away from becoming that alternative to China. And until the time that happens, it is not possible for India or for any country to absolutely ignore China. And that's a reality. But we are not India is not engaging China from a position of disadvantage. India is engaging China from a position where both countries need each other. At this point in time, the tariff war is not just between India and the United States of America, it's between US and China as well. While there are trade talks that are taking place between countries with the United States of America, one has to wait and see whether there will be a conclusion of the trade talks with China before India. Now that certainly will spell a lot of problems. But right now, we are also looking at how Russia, India, China, the countries that originally as an RIC bloc have engaged each other for years now. Will there be forward movement in cohesiveness that these countries show when it comes to multilateral agenda and multilateral interests? And in that, India is a major stakeholder, as is China, and so is Russia. So, SCO, again, the major countries in this bloc are also Russia, China, and then India as well. But then again, you cannot take away from the fact that Prime Minister Modi was very, very clear about three things: Vishwas, Samman, Samvedanshilta, which is mutual trust, mutual respect, and sensitivity. Now, sensitivity is loaded here. It is not just to do with the fact that China has to look at the border issue with certain sensitivity and concerns that India has. It is so loaded because it talks about everything that is of concern to India and that China negates or ignores, which is not just a boundary question where we see transgressions time and again. It is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, through which the CPEC corridor runs. That's the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. It is the eternal support to Pakistan, irrespective of where Pakistan stands in the international order when it comes to abetting terrorism. It is blocking all the moves of India at the United Nations Security Council when it comes to terrorists. So while the two sides are talking about terrorism, while tomorrow the emphasis is going to be counter-terrorism under SCO, which also has a RAP forum, the regional forum, anti-terrorist structure, despite all of that, we will see a lot of problems in consensus, because in that room exists Pakistan. And remember, even when there is a room where China and India are sitting, in that room also there is the existence of Pakistan, an entity that will always remain very close to China. So that sensitivity does not only have to do with boundary or border, it has to do with Pakistan as well.